All right, so thank you, Amanda, for being willing to do this with me. I know it can be a little weird, but I appreciate your openness to the experience. So I just want to start off by inviting you to share like what you want to work on today, what's been going on in your life, or pretty much anything.
Work is very stressful.
Okay.
I have a lot of deadlines, a lot of people I don't like. Don't necessarily like my boss.
Yeah, that can be a pretty normal experience, not really liking your boss.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. I'm curious, what is a normal day like for you at work?
um, check my emails, depending on if it's month end. Make a checklist of what I'm gonna do, what order. Deal with site staff, audit their work. Um, Kind of just repeat that.
Wow. So it sounds like there's a lot of social interaction that you have to do with coordinating with other people and other sites and
Yeah, but it's mostly over the phone, so I mean, I have good days and bad days, I guess.
yeah. What would you say a good day looks like?
They don't have any problems with their move outs and they listen to what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Bad day being they don't do that and
So
they
it sounds
argue
like
and
yeah. Sounds like there's a lot of frustration around work because of other people's lack of ability to listen to what you've said.
yes. And they do it month after month after month. I'm
Uh,
like,
so this
could you
just keeps
just,
repeating.
yeah, could you just get it the first time?
Yeah. So there's sort of this repetitive theme of people just not understanding what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
That sounds really
it
frustrating.
is.
And it seems like it would be a little bit isolating too, because obviously you're saying things and people are hearing them, they're just not quite comprehending what you're saying.
Yeah. Or they just choose. Well, I think a lot of it is they feel like it's easier just to do it on their end, but they don't realize the back end of it. It's not just as simple as making the correction and
Right.
moving on. Like, there's a lot of, like, codes and things that go into it that I've explained it to them, but I don't think they necessarily care because they're not the ones that has to deal with it.
Right.
And it's twice as much work if they do it on their end, and then I have to go back and fix it. It's like, so it's frustrating.
Yeah. So it ends up being twice the amount of work for you, pretty much
Mm-hmm.
either way. Either you're repeating what you've already said to them
Yeah,
or you're
in
fixing what they
essence,
messed
yeah.
up.
I'd never thought of it that way, but I guess it is. Yeah,
That sounds exhausting.
it is.
Like your job is only one role, and here you are having to take on multiple
Yeah.
roles.
And then my boss will send out an email asking if anyone needs help, and then I'll email back and say, yeah, I need help with, and list whatever I need help with. And then she tells me to hang tight.
So
I'm
you
like,
feel like you're not really getting the support that she's actually offering.
no.
Yeah.
And then, like, a couple days later, she'll be like, I have assistance for you. When, okay, well, I don't need help now. I'm
Right.
like,
So you're
you
sort of
know,
left to deal with whatever crisis or
yeah,
stress is on your plate at the time,
yeah,
regardless of her saying, "Oh, we'll help you."
yeah. So, frustrating.
Yeah, definitely. I'm curious sort of what the office culture is like. Like what's the environment like day to day?
You mean like, well, we all just sit at kind of do our own thing. There's not really that much interaction. And I feel like when we do, like, try to break it up or go for a walk or, take a break and step away from our desk, like, I don't know for everyone, but for my row, we have a lot of people that feel like they're in high school and have to tell. And it's like, well,
Ah,
she was away for her desk. And then it turns into, like, a he said, she said type thing. And then
right.
if I'm the one that got told on, well, I would be inclined to be like, well, there's other people that do it the same, if not worse. But then
Totally.
I'm like, okay, well, I'm an adult. I don't,
Right.
I'll be the bigger person, I guess, and just take one for the team. But
So there's really no cohesive feeling of teamwork where you're at
no,
right now.
No.
Okay. So what's interesting to me is people are really like a culmination of our social constructs. So it makes sense to me that you're having a hard time with work given the fact that the environment and the social structure of work isn't the greatest.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm curious about is whether it'd be helpful for you for us to spend some time trying to deconstruct what the positive narrative within that is. So we want to separate work from you, essentially, so that you're able to go into work without having those problems be the dominant story that you're telling yourself.
You mean kind of like leave the problems at work?
Sort of like
Like,
let the problem be the problem.
So, like, it's okay to be, like, it's okay that she says no to help or that,
Sort of. We're going to deconstruct a little bit more. So, right now, it sounds like what you feel is the story you tell yourself about work and going to work is I have no help, I'm alone,
mm-hmm.
no one is hearing what I'm trying to say, and no one is making an effort to do their job. Does that sound somewhat accurate to how you feel every day?
I mean, I feel like I hate to say people aren't making an effort because I feel like, I mean, maybe they aren't, but
maybe that's a little harsh. Maybe more like they don't have the same work ethic or mentality as you do.
Yeah. Or they don't care as much.
Right.
Yeah.
So I want to go ahead and focus on the things within work that are positive for you. So we're going to go ahead and separate the problems that other people seem to add to in the work environment from the work environment. Does that sound like something that would be a little bit helpful?
Yeah.
Okay. So I want to start by thinking about times where you had like something really positive happen at work.
My review when Lori said I was above average.
Hey, that's pretty positive right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's got to feel good to have, I'm assuming Lori's your boss,
mm-hmm.
to have your boss tell you like, hey, you're doing a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
And I'm sure that means a lot more, especially given the environment that you're in.
Yeah. Yeah. And it being my first year there and first review, like, I don't know.
So basically, you're kind of killing it at work, is what it sounds like.
Yeah, but it takes a lot out of me to do that.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Which it pays off. I see that, and, I'm part of work is working hard, and,
Definitely.
you're not always going to have good days anywhere. At work or not at work, so.
That is a really good perspective to have.
Yeah.
So one unique positive outcome at work was your boss giving you positive feedback about your performance.
Mm-hmm.
What else has there been?
I guess, like, every time I get a month end back without, like, because we turn them in, and then if there's something wrong or, like, something needs to be fixed, then Jen or Lori will write on there, like, fix this or whatever. So getting month ends back with no corrections is nice.
Yeah, I bet. So sort of like a gold star for you almost.
Basically.
Like, yeah, I did my job right.
Yeah. I didn't miss anything.
Totally. Okay, so we have two really unique events here. So we have this reinforcement of you doing an excellent job in the role you're in, and we have your bosses commending your effort for a specific task that you're assigned at work. So now I want to go ahead and look at how we're going to expand those positives to become the dominant narrative you tell yourself regarding work. So we don't want work to feel like some big monster that you have to just sort of cope with or handle on a day-to-day basis.
Right.
And it sounds like in the past there have been these moments where you've been able to handle work like, excuse my French, but like a badass.
Mm-hmm.
And those are things to really celebrate. And I want to go ahead and try to accentuate that and what happens when those things happen and create a story more based on that. So when you're sitting and you hear that you got a month end back with no corrections, what sort of feelings come to mind?
Like I'm proud of myself, happy, excited that I don't have to make any corrections.
Mm-hmm. So you're proud and you're happy and excited. And I'm curious if those similar sort of feelings come up when you're reinforced by Lori or someone above you about, hey, you're doing a really good job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So we want to sort of cultivate that as your inner sense of you. So we want work to be about the reinforcement of you doing a good job and the fact that it is a secure place for you to be because you've demonstrated in the past that you're able to be there.
Mm-hmm.
And with that comes a lot of confidence as well.
Right.
What are your thoughts about hearing sort of that kind of thing?
I mean, I guess I never thought of it that way or like really thought. I mean, there are a lot of positives. I guess I really just focus on the negatives a lot of the time. So,
Yeah, I think that's human nature though,
yeah.
too. Especially when you're stuck in this environment where that may be sort of what the dominant culture is to look for those negatives and to look for people's errors instead of to take the time to praise and to savor those positive things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, we don't really get praise a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, we do, but it's, I would say we get pointed out the flaws more than the positives.
And it sounds like praise is something that really fills your tank in a work environment.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to go ahead and try to sort of reauthor this whole narrative of what you tell yourself in the morning before you're going to work. So as of now, I'm sure it sort of feels like a negative monster that's just there right when you wake up. You're going to have to go there.
Yeah. And it's a lot of like, okay, I got to rush to do this, 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 and this. And then by the time I get to work, it's just like,
Yeah.
I can't even think straight.
So you're already feeling so bombarded by what the day is going to entail that you feel overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say overwhelmed is the key word.
Okay.
Like, when I think of work, that's probably what would sum it up.
Gotcha. So that's sort of the dominant narrative that you've been telling yourself is there's no time for any mistakes. There's no time for anybody's opinions. There's just no time. There's too much to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's...
Yeah.
Yeah. So what if we go ahead and take a second and what if it doesn't get done?
I have to answer to Lori.
So it sounds like you really respect Lori.
Well, she told me one time, she was like, your goal, you should strive to never come into this office. And I know if I don't get my work done, I'm going in that damn office.
I gotcha.
And that's
so you have taken to heart what Lori has said.
Well, yeah, because, I mean, it's kind of, I think I try a little harder with Lori compared to other bosses because I do know her outside of work. And I if I'm ever put in a situation where I have to hang out with her outside of work, or not have to, but if I'm with the people, that she knows, that we mutually know,
right.
I want her to think of me as someone who knows what they're doing and, like, I'm on her good side, because once you get on Lori's bad side, you're not going back.
I gotcha.
So, that's a huge thing.
I'm curious, what if we were to sort of rewrite that idea of you should strive to never come into this office to stop by her office every other day and say hi?
Yeah. I could do that when she's in the office.
I guess that would be step one. She'd have
Yeah.
to be there. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because ultimately, it sounds like the story that you're telling yourself about your role at work is one that's been told to you by Lori, your boss, and by people who have said, we need help with X, Y, or Z. And that may not have originally been in your job description.
Mm-hmm.
So I want us to go ahead and I want you to think about what your ideal role would be in this environment. What do you want people to think of you as?
Like, I know what I'm doing. I could answer any question you have, like in regards to work. I'm punctual. Like, I feel like those are things I'd want someone to, like, think about me at work.
It sounds like there's this theme of proving that you're competent and that you're capable. And you know, it's fascinating to me that you brought up two of the unique events at work that really speak to that. Being that positive reinforcement of, hey, you are competent.
Mm-hmm.
So, what if we start to switch the narrative to instead of having to prove your competence to, hey, I'm showing them that I'm competent?
Kind of take more of like a confidence, like be more confident.
Not even confident, but sort of taking some of that power back.
Yeah, I mean, I could try. I feel like that would be really hard for me because I'm not used to doing it that way.
So then maybe the first step isn't something like that. Maybe it's just trying to notice and acknowledge that the story that you've been telling yourself is one that's been very much informed by the work culture you're in.
Mm-hmm.
And being able to have some grace towards yourself in that.
Yeah. I definitely could use that.
Do you think that sounds like a more plausible first step?
Yeah, definitely. Like
Okay.
allow room for mistakes or not being perfect.
Yeah. And to celebrate those moments when you get that reinforcement or you feel that happiness or just the contentment with being at work.
Yeah.
And hopefully, over time, those positive moments will end up cultivating a dominant narrative that's more, excuse me, self informed and more true to what your preferred narrative would be.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious, has this overall been relatively helpful for you? Is there something that you think we could have focused on a little differently?
No, I think it was very helpful. It allowed me to kind of like step out of how I normally think and see it from like other views or I guess other ideas of how I could go about my day or go about the way I do things.
Yeah.
I think it was helpful.
Good. And ultimately, I just hope that you are aware that you're not the problems that are arising at work. You are not the result of that. You are not the product of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So hopefully you're able to have a little more grace as you go through this week. And I just thank you again for being willing to do this with me.
Yeah, no problem.